Hi guys, it's Lauren. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Scent Sunday. Today I have dressed up my background, I've dressed up myself, and we are channeling the vibes of dark academia, light academia, just aesthetic. That's all we're going for today. I can't believe it's October already, and I wanted to do something still festive, but I've talked a lot about fall perfumes, and I got the idea to talk about some perfumes that I feel like fit either the light academia or dark academia aesthetic. According to Wikipedia, this is a literary and social media aesthetic. It's concerned with higher education, writing, poetry, the arts, classic Greek and Gothic architecture. It's just fall vibes, very much like plaid and trousers, and you're really into like reading classical literature, think Dead Poets Society vibes. Like that is what dark academia is. And then light academia is something kind of similar, but just lighter in tone, like literally just color, but also not as much focus on maybe some more existential or darker themes that can come along with dark academia. So yeah, it's just a fun little video. I hope you guys enjoy. I thought I'd get a little festive, do something a little bit fun. That being said, I have a lot of perfumes to talk about, and when I picked these perfumes, I really wanted the aesthetic and vibe to fit. So bottle mattered. I thought about bottle, I thought about the scent also in the bottle and how that's gonna kind of go. So I've tried to like make them the whole package, and I feel like perfumes in general just kind of fit this aesthetic thing to me, because a perfume can evoke like memory as well as put you in a specific mood or kind of set an atmospheric tone. I feel like we use perfumes for tons of different reasons: to boost confidence, to feel sexy, like they just have that kind of going with them. And I feel like it totally makes sense that some perfumes would fall into this aesthetic as well. So let's just get into it. I'm going to start with light academia first, and then we'll move into dark academia. But first on my list, this is Lee's Bow. I love the bottle, very simplistic, very clean. I feel like this almost has something like mathematician or like fine art you don't quite understand, but you're like, yeah, I get it. Like that's the vibes of this to me. So a little bit more modern, but I feel like it totally works and would look good in all the different pictures, like what I'm thinking of. This is such a great aromatic woody scent. I absolutely love it. It is light, but it's like this really nice dry wood. I believe there's like sequoia in here. There's some different resins in here, but it has very much like a fresh, uplifting kind of forest vibe to it. There's also vanilla in here, but it doesn't add a sweetness. So there's no sweetness to this perfume really, but there is a vanilla touch to it, which adds a little bit of softness so that the wood isn't just so dry and isn't just like pencil shavings. To me, this feels like the weather changing. It feels like you are going into fall. It smells like dry, crunchy leaves. Definitely the trees are set ablaze with the leaves turning red and yellow, but it's still light enough so this doesn't have too much depth. I feel like you could wear it all year round, and I definitely think it gives me almost something kind of to like a musty old book or like a really dry book. You're turning the pages of it. I definitely feel like this fits that. So this is Lee's Bow. I'm going to be going a little bit faster through these, more giving you an idea of the scent than reading every single note and all that. It's more about vibes. We're talking straight up vibes for this one, okay? Okay, next on my list, this one from House of Bow, different than Lee's Bow. This is House of Bow's Espiritu, and this bottle, first off, is absolutely beautiful. It has this like stone top to it, which is just so nice. It's heavy and weighted. I felt like the bottle alone reminded me of like maybe you're going to a museum and you're seeing like the carved stairs or walking, like, you know, these really old museums, going to the Louvre or something like that. It reminds me of like old universities, again, kind of that like old stone and like history of that. So that's why I picked this. I also feel like it's just so aesthetic, so beautiful. And then also the scent I feel like is quite sophisticated while still being lighter. This is a florally, leathery type of scent. It also, I believe, has some sage, so it's a little bit aromatic as well. I really like the way the leather is in here. It's a cleaner leather smell, so think of like almost new car or like a really nice new leather bag or leather shoes. I feel like that's kind of the smell that I get from it. It's a little bit powdery as well, and then there's some florals in here, and I almost pick up something right on the verge of fruity. There's something about this that feels like classy and sophisticated, but it has like some type of depth to it because of that leather. I think it's perfect for here. It's almost a little bit spicy as well. I can totally picture this with all of the different outfits that go with light academia, where you're still wearing trousers, but you're wearing them in those lighter tones. You're not wearing as much black and stuff. This is the perfume for sure. This is another one that could be every single day. And I really pictured, you know, wearing like a crossbody school bag or something like that with this because of that leather note. So this is House of Beau Espiritu. I feel like so many of my perfumes that I chose for light academia have some aromatic touches. I just feel like something about those aromatics adds something, I feel like unisex and like strong and like grounded, I guess, where it's light but still serious, I guess, you know what I mean? So the next one I have here, this is from Byredo, and really in general, I feel like Byredo adds something kind of modern to the aesthetic. Like I feel like this would go so well in all the pictures and kind of the vibe, but it does have something a little bit more modern. It's kind of like the person going to class, right, on these like older universities, but they're still like have their iPhone, you know, earphones in. Like they still have like an Apple laptop that they're taking notes on. That's this. This is De Los Santos though, specifically I picked, but there are so many Byredo scents. I feel like they even have one called Bibliothèque, which I feel like would be so appropriate for this, but alas, I don't have that, and I'm gonna go with De Los Santos. This is another very aromatic, very sage heavy scent. It also has tons of ambroxan, and this also to me, like upon smelling it, smells like tea. It smells like loose leaf tea. So I'm imagining that you're making yourself like a classy cup of tea, you know, brewing it, the steam. It's very like woody as well. I get like sauna vibes, like wood sauna, hot wood, very dry wood, and tea. That's what I get. It has some like muskiness to me, I find, and it really stays on my skin. I love ambroxan though, so this one I really liked for the aesthetic and kind of matching that like breakfast tea moment or making yourself like a hot cup of tea. And I feel like tea as opposed to coffee is a little bit more like light academia as opposed to dark academia. I'm not gonna lie though, this perfume also, if I want to go there with my brain, you know how some scents are like that, where if you want to smell it one way, then you can smell it and it smells amazing. But if you smell it another way and you think about it like that, you're like, huh. But this also gives me like hay vibes and like clean hay farm vibes. That's what it smells like. It really does smell like hay on a farm. We did like a field trip a long time ago when I was in grade school to a farm, and we could like jump in like a pile of hay, and it also reminds me of that. It really does. But that is De Los Santos from Byredo, but I feel like so many different Byredo scents and also just the bottles in general look very clean and like astute and a little bit more of a modern take, I feel like, in the dark academia aesthetic. Next, I want to talk about Replica, and I feel like in general, the Replica bottles, they fit the aesthetic so perfect. They look like you are taking notes, like you just excavated something and you took notes, and each little bottle kind of like represents dates and like logs that information, like something about studying that. I don't know, that's just what I get from it. These are like cloth labels on the bottles. Well, not on the little ones, but on the big ones. And there's something about them that feels kind of like old school, almost like not medical, but yeah, they definitely have an old vibe to them. On top of each one of these has like a story, and I feel like that just goes with it as well. It's like evoking a specific time and place. They also have one called Whispers in the Library, which I feel like would fit this really well. I don't have that one, but for light academia, I decided to go with fall vibes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this one's so good. This is another one that just makes me think of fall. Again, the leaves are turning. This one, as opposed to Lise Beau though, this isn't as vanilla. This is spicier, it's woodier. It feels more holiday. That one doesn't necessarily have like the holidays attached to it, but there's something a little bit spicier in here. I don't know if it's cardamom or pink pepper, something like that. There's also a maple note in here, which I really feel like I smell. I absolutely love this. Again, another one where you really feel like you're walking through the forest, walking through campus as the leaves are turning red. Maybe you move to the East Coast for the first time. You're experiencing your first like fall there. That's kind of what I imagine this to be like. It's still light though and airy, which I love. It's not too heavy, but definitely because of the dry woods, I just feel like, again, you could be going to the library. I just like, you know, it's so fun to imagine. I just love like aesthetic, get into the vibe. I'm gonna try not to say vibe a million times, but I cannot promise things. I'm also gonna leave some playlists down below if you like wanna feel this. I'll put like a light academia playlist and a dark academia playlist. It's gonna be like a lot of classical music, piano, maybe some rain going in the background, maybe some fires crackling. Like, they definitely help set the mood. Next, for light academia, I put in the Billie Eilish eyelash perfume because of the fact that it's a bust. There is this kind of emphasis on like Greek statues and busts and marble carvings, and although this isn't marble, I feel like it fits, obviously. There's also lots of like bronze and gold colors, I feel like, throughout the imagery, so I really felt like just bottle-wise, so aesthetic. It would look so great in like all of the photos. Like, I love it so much. And I also feel like this scent works really well for fall going into it. This is a vanilla scent. If you guys watch my vanilla video, then you know this isn't one of my absolute favorite vanillas, but I will say it's growing on me a bit. It's very, very sweet to me. It has some like red berry notes. It has like some sugared petals, so there's a little bit of something floral going on. There is a little bit of a spice as well to this vanilla, and some cocoa or cacao, and you do smell that, but I just get a very sugared vanilla in here to me. Very sweet. I also feel like this one's maybe a little bit lighter. Even though it has spices, I wouldn't consider this like deep and spicy like maybe something would be for dark academia. I'm actually really excited to like revisit this more this year in the fall time and see how I can make it work, because I feel like mixing this with some woods would be really, really nice. But definitely a perfect pick for light academia. And if you guys don't know, there is going to be a 2.0 coming out in November, so I'll definitely be picking that up. It's supposed to be like darker, woodier, sexier, and it's in like a darker bottle, so I'm so excited for that. All right, my last two for light academia. Next, I wanted to put Hermetica's Peony Pop in here. First off, I feel like the Hermetica bottle just fits it. Like, there's something about this. The cap is weighted. It just looks almost like alchemy, which is kind of their thing. Like, they talk about alchemy with their perfumes a lot, kind of combining science and the natural parts of like creating fragrance, and I think that's really cool. So I feel like it fits the aesthetic there. And then I picked Peony Pop specifically because it is more floral, and with light academia, I feel like it could be more gardens, like, you know, think of like old statues and art in an overgrown garden, secret garden vibes. And because this has some peony as well as some rose, I think there's like a lot of stuff in here, but I really pick up on the rose, like something kind of spicy to it. I feel like this goes into light academia. I was like going back and forth on if it's a little bit darker, because I do find that this floral to me has almost something incensey going on and something slightly burnt going on. I feel like it's the amber that's in here. I think also there's myrrh in here, and I feel like those remind me of different incense that I've smelt at churches, but that also I feel like kind of goes into this aesthetic as well, thinking of different cathedrals as well as the plants. And so I feel like this would be a really good one. You could totally rock this in the springtime in like a white dress, but I also feel like it has enough body on its own to go into fall and be something that holds its own in the colder weather. So that is Peony Pop from Hermetica. And then last, I wanted to put one of Kilian's like alcohol. I don't know what the line's called, but this is Apple Brandy on the Rocks. This is actually Sam's perfume. I'm putting this in light academia as opposed to dark academia just because of the scent, but I just feel like the bottle reminds me of like a secret bar hidden in a library. Like, that's what I think of. There's like a classic look to this bottle and design, and although I mean dark academia or light academia doesn't have a ton to do with necessarily drinking, I just feel like a late night studying or reading text and, you know, great minds meeting and pondering different topics or discussing different philosophers. You know, you might have a little whiskey drink or brandy or something like that, and I feel like you would be drinking it out of a small glass, out of something that's been decanted, and you're really drinking this straight up like liquor. You're not drinking like a mixed drink, you know? Apple Brandy on the Rocks is an apple scent, and it really has like this freshness, and I can almost smell the on the rocks portion of this where it does smell cool almost. Like there's something about it where you can really tell that this is an iced brandy drink. There's a little bit of spice going on. There is some cardamom in the top on this one, but there's also some pineapple, so it's very fruity. It still has some woodiness though to ground it as well, so it doesn't like feel tropical. This doesn't feel like summery to me at all. So if you're looking for something kind of fruity that doesn't go too, I don't feel like this even goes that boozy in like a dark way, you know, in a thick syrupy way, although there is rum and brandy in it. it, but the ambroxan that's in here and the woodiness of it is really, really nice, and I think it fits light academia really well. I feel like Angel Share would more go for dark academia. I just realized I have one more light academia naturally. I feel like this one will also be really good for transitioning us into dark, but this is from Initio and this is Musk Therapy. This bottle is absolutely beautiful. I think Initio's bottles are perfect for this aesthetic, but just in general, I love them. I feel like the detailing on them, and especially Oud for Greatness, which I don't own, there's something about them that reminds me of like kind of like Freemasons and like secret societies, but with Musk Therapy, it's the light version. This is a lighter, muskier citrus perfume. It has black currant. I believe there's bergamot in here, but it is quite musky, and I've talked about this before when I've mentioned this perfume. This has an airiness to it. It also has a little bit of a soapiness to it, but there is something kind of animalic to the musk that's in here. I find it's not as innocent as you might think. It's not only a clean musk. There's something a little bit dirty, a little bit stinky, a little bit lived in, almost. I've talked about this like sweaty BO almost, but I really do, I still like it. It smells really great to me. Very fresh, and again, lighter in color, lighter in mood than some of the other Initio scents that can get really sweet and kind of heavy or oody. This one keeps it fresh and musky while still having like those tinges of something a little bit more animalic, a little bit sexy, and I think it fits it so well. And we'll move into the other Initio. You guys already know what it is. Now moving into dark academia, this is Initio's Side Effect, and you can already tell like the difference in the vibe when I put this one up. Same packaging, except this one's purple, and again, I really get that imagery of like Skull and Bones, secret society. You're going to, is that Yale? Is that Yale? I don't know. I went to ASU, okay? And the scent goes along with it. This is a really rich vanilla. It's a boozy vanilla. I believe there's rum in here. It's spicy. There's cinnamon, but really I get something almost kind of medicinal from this by how rich it is. It almost comes off like kind of cherry or almond, but so sweet, a really rich vanilla. I feel like this one's definitely taking you into colder months, and again is going with those darker outfits, darker aesthetics. So beautiful. And like I mentioned, the Oud for Greatness, I'll put the bottle up here. That one also I feel like so much gives me like secret society vibes. You know what I mean? Like there's a map on the back of the Constitution. We are gonna figure it out Da Vinci Code style. I know those are two different movies, but I just feel like there's something about them that is connected. Conspiracy theory. Anyway, that is Side Effect from Initio. Ooh, similar. This one is BDK's Grisharnel, and I feel like this one is like you were studying abroad. So maybe you're going to a university in England or France, you're in Paris maybe. There's something about this. It has like this waxy powderiness to me. This has cardamom as well as iris and some fig. I think there's vetiver in here, and I love that fig note. It's something a little bit fruity and sweet and kind of milky to it. This also has sandalwood in here, which adds a little bit of warmth, but I really find on my skin that iris adds something kind of almost waxy and powdery, almost makeup-y to this. But because it has the spice, it has this richness, and it's so beautiful, kind of alluring, a little bit sexy. And I really feel like this one, not only the bottle, I mean the juice is literally gray and black, and I feel like it just fits the aesthetic that way, but I also could see like someone in plaid trousers, or I don't know, like a really nice fall outfit, being in Europe and, you know, studying and being in libraries, but still kind of having this like, yeah, new awakenings and I don't know, living life in the fall time. That's like the vibes of this. That is the fall vibes. I want to get into a little bit of like the gothic side of dark academia. I feel like with dark academia, you could go down a route of seeing like crows and like skulls and like Edgar Allan Poe stuff, like more that route. That's like its own little subsect, I feel like, of dark academia that you could go down. And I really feel like the KVD Sinner bottle is absolutely perfect for that. This is like gothic, dark academia going on. You know what I mean? It has skulls on the bottle, some like filigree almost looking texture. Absolutely beautiful. Like you're about to send a letter and you're gonna do the wax melt, you know, to like make sure no one opens your letter because it's that important type of thing. Now, as a perfume, this isn't necessarily my style. It has a little bit of that patchouli, but it's very dry. It's not too stinky in any way. A little bit powdery to me and a little bit floral, but in a darker, deeper, sexier way. It's definitely not bad. Like, again, I feel like I've really been enjoying patchouli more, like, you know, just opening my scent profile up a little bit and just getting used to patchouli. Not necessarily on me, but I feel like the first steps are at least just enjoying it when I just smell it. There's something a little spicy about this as well. I decided to look up notes on this one because I just wanted to know. There's some cinnamon in here. Again, patchouli, vanilla, musk, vetiver in the base. And then there is this fruitiness from a plum, which I do feel like plum adds a sweetness, but there is something a little bit deeper and darker, more mysterious about a plum fruit note. I feel like in almost every perfume I've ever smelled plum in, it does add something a little bit deeper. And then it has some white florals in there as well. I totally think this smell stands, but the bottle to me is what is like absolutely perfect. All right, next, you guys knew I had to mention Replicas by the Fireplace. To me, this smoky, sweet vanilla, oh, I just absolutely love this. I imagine you sitting by a fireplace, reading a poem, reading some type of play, reading some type of old literature, hearing the crackling of the fire and the smoke. I just absolutely love the imagery of that. This is a toasted marshmallow type of scent, so there's definitely a sweetness coming in through the vanilla, and there's also like chestnut as well in here, but you also get something smoky and woody coming from this. So I find it's like a perfect balance of both of those things. I love that it has some of those richer notes, but it also has something sweet to kind of balance it so it doesn't feel too much to me. I actually like to wear this one year round. I like this one so much, and I feel like the sweetness on it comes out, so I find I can still wear this like even in summer. Like even in summer, I'm rocking this thing. It's so good. But I really feel like, again, the bottle, the idea of being by the fireplace late at night, reading, or again, talking in a library or in some kind of common space really lets me picture that kind of dark academia aesthetic. I think I have 3 more left to talk about. Next, this is Jo Malone's English Oak and Red Currant. I feel like in general, again, Jo Malone has kind of this apothecary feel. This is so interesting. It is like a spicy, woody, like unisex scent. I don't know why, this always just reminds me of like over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go, and there's something eerie about it at the same time. This reminds me of like scarves. There's something kind of aromatic going on as well. The only notes on Fragrantica are red currant, rose, and oak, but this one has like a warmth to it. Again, I really feel like putting it on your scarf, taking a walk into the woods, or somehow traveling through a place where the leaves are turning, like that's kind of what I think of with this one. It's very nice. It's on the cusp though. I feel like this could go into light academia as well. Another one that I was kind of playing with is orange bitters. You guys know I love that one. Again, something about the alcohol and like getting together and drinking into the night while discussing philosophies, like is what orange bitter gives me. Also, it kind of reminds me of like an old man grandpa, and that also kind of fits the vibe. Next, I had to pick Piano Santal. This bottle is absolutely beautiful. It has like a black look to it, but only in some areas, and so then it's clear in others, and I just love that. On top of, it's perfect that it's called Piano Santal, because pianos and also just classical instruments in general, I feel like make a very big appearance in this aesthetic. There's lots of images of people like playing the piano with like ruffled sleeves. I saw a lot of that going on. This is a musky sandalwood scent, very sandalwood heavy. It also has some cumin in it, so it has a little bit of like a savory note as well. Very lactonic, kind of close to the skin, a little sensual on this one. If you really like those like creamy sandalwood fragrances, I would give this one a try. I know that the cumin can be a little bit much depending on how it plays on your skin, but I feel like it just adds this really nice warmth and something a touch like unisex leaning, to me a little bit masculine, and I really like that. It reminds me like wearing loafers and again trousers, and I like how close this sits to the skin. It's something that's gonna warm you up, but I also feel like there's a sensuality to it that I really like this underlying sensuality, and I feel like that kind of works as well. I really feel like this one just like fits so perfect. It really it fits beautifully into this aesthetic. I almost forgot to talk about Commodities Paper. I really wanted to put this one in here because one, the bottle is black, so naturally it fits with dark academia, but also it's called Paper, and I feel like the kind of woody dryness that comes from this reminds me of like books and libraries, and they actually have a fragrance called Book as well, but this one is an ambery, woody, musky scent that, oh, it's so good. This has ISO E Super in it, so you already know I love it. I love the way that amber flowers in here. I love the woody notes in here. It does kind of have a paper smell, but there is something a little bit masculine to this. It is unisex, like all of Commodity stuff is unisex, but I do find that this like leans slightly masculine in a way that there's almost this like sweetness that comes out to me, I find, and it feels very lived in, like you're almost wearing your boyfriend's t-shirt. I really like this. I find even though this is plus and this is in the bold line, I don't get a ton of projection with this. This stays really close to my skin. I love it, and I feel like it really stays a long time on my clothing, but to me this definitely doesn't project or like fill a room at all. I absolutely love it though. I feel like it fits the theme so well. I could see someone, again, you're like in a blazer, studying at the library, holding a ton of books. Like that's what this reminds me of, and I love how woody and musky it is. It really is one of those ones, like if you like Parlez-Moi Milky Musk, I feel like you might like this. This to me has a little bit more body. I feel like Milky Musk is just like sandalwood musk. It's pretty dry. This doesn't quite feel as dry as that one, and it almost adds this like skin scent to it. Like this has something like, again, lived in to it. So there's a little bit of a sensuality, I feel like, as well to this scent, in a way kind of similar to Piano Santal, but that one has something kind of savory going on, and it's a lot more lactonic and like milky. I don't find this one to necessarily be milky. It's just not super dry, but I feel like it's perfect for the dark academia aesthetic. All right, and my last fragrance that I want to mention for dark academia is from Diptyque, and this is Orpheon. Again, the Diptyque bottles I feel like fit this aesthetic, whether you're going with the Parfums, which have the black, or you're going with an eau de toilette. They definitely fit the aesthetic really, really well, and I really love how unique these are. But specifically with Orpheon, I feel like this has something aromatic as well as woody, a little bit powdery. I find it almost goes soapy, but then there is something a little bit smoky that's going on, a little bit richer, a little bit deeper, a little bit mysterious, and this was actually created to smell like a bar that was like attached to the Diptyque store, like, and the founders would go there and drink and discuss and all that. So it has like a little bit of that bar, smoky, nightlife kind of feel to it. I like that this is a little bit clean and again powdery without being too soapy. It doesn't like lose personality. Sometimes those soapy fragrances just go kind of generic smelling on me, and I really like the way that this one is. It's a unisex fragrance. I really like it on Sam as well, and I really picture this on someone in like trousers and a blazer and a little bit more put together, a little bit more professional when I'm thinking of like a woman, and I really love that vibe and something that's like challenging a little bit, you know, like challenging authority, challenging the status quo, I guess, a little bit, while also enjoying themselves and having fun, and a little bit of like a darkness going through all of that. So those are my picks for my light and dark academia perfumes in my collection. I had a really good time just like picking out bottles. I feel like for me, perfume collecting and having all these bottles, it's not just about the scents, like that's obviously huge, but I do like just the aesthetic of it, and I almost picture my collection as like this apothecary where I go and can smell different things and uplift myself in this way or set the mood this way. And I think it's really fun to think of aesthetics and what perfumes match those aesthetics if you were like going for that or dressing for that a certain way to really finish the outfit and to really set the mood. I feel like they just go hand in hand. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gets you into the fall spirit. I can't believe it's October already. Let me know if you want to see this done with other aesthetics. I was thinking about doing something that's kind of like Barbiecore, like really girly and like cotton candy and pink and like just unabashedly feminine and like Elwood style, you know? I thought that would be really fun, but let me know your thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course I'd love to hear what your picks would be in your own collection or bottles that you feel like fit this aesthetic. Like I just would love to hear any of your guys' thoughts. And yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.